back for another episode of Hard Not Life, dedicated to the new core of hip-hop today, the business, the brand, and the balance between authenticity and entertainment. And we're recording one of the most authentic spots in New York City. Shout out to Fresh Aesthetic on Grand Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, home of the world-famous Classic Material clothing line. Do you have some punchline for them this week?
No, I'm good. Just chilling.
Well, you've seen them on your favorite rapper's favorite rapper because it's a classic brand.
Yes, super authentic. There are things here that you can't get anywhere else, not just chlamydia. Let's go.
There it is. Anything we bring up here is for discussion and debate. And if you haven't noticed by now, we haven't actually introduced ourselves.
Nope.
I am Saul Goodman, lying to Bed-Stuy, your host and moderator for this podcast.
Do we need a moderator if it's just the two of us?
No.
All right.
If there's more
Okay.
people, it's great to, keep things tight and along
Gotta
the
keep
lines
it
of the
tight.
conversation. And now, okay, co-host,
Word.
please.
What's up? I'm DK Marko, New Jersey's Juggernaut. You might find me stumbling outside of a comic book store after being suspiciously looked at because they think I might steal something. But I never do, ever.
That's pretty traumatic. I'm sorry to
Word.
hear
It's
that.
so like if you're ever in New York and you go to St. Mark's Comics, it's a small spot. They have cool stuff there, but the manager there just staring at everybody like they just
He
want to
really
take
does.
everything.
I hate him.
Right?
I do hate him.
The other thing that lets me know that like working there is not the most fun is that the people working at the register always change. It's always like a 20-ish something woman, and it changes a lot, which makes me feel a certain type of way about his hiring practices and business practices.
This is fair. I can't stand
So I'm
him and the manager of Continental.
Whoa. Some of these stray shots.
No, I can't.
What did Continental do to you besides give you
No,
delicious
I just
fried
can't
chicken?
stand. I just Continental.
Oh! Fuck Continental! Yo, that's the realest shit ever. That's the realest shit you ever wrote, yo. Fuck Continental. They're like,
Wait.
you're not in dress code. Like, nigga,
Yo,
what dress code?
can
All
I
right,
just
I know. I
wait,
just triggered something.
Can I just say something? I told that story. Sorry, Kyle. And I was just saying how I've gone into Continental with dudes wearing hoodies and sneakers and everything and had no issues. But that one time we went and they said no. I was like, I don't understand. Like, you are the only person in the world that gets denied, which is the weirdest thing ever. It's so weird.
I was so annoyed.
Well, you won't have that problem here at Fresh Aesthetic.
Nah.
And it's really just fun to hang out here and check out all the designs and diversify your wardrobe.
Diversify your bombs.
Well,
nigga.
we are here. You already heard her. Our trusty executive producer Mika is around.
Yep.
We have the OG Carlos here with the next step in human evolution.
Next step in human evolution. Yes.
Friends of mine have visited Fresh Aesthetic. Project Pratt is here, as well as Pablo. I'm not going to say where he works, but he's
Church.
Oh, yes. Darwin's Toy. Yes.
Darwin's toy.
Yeah, it's his Instagram. Don't
Oh.
don't get indignant.
That's layers right there.
We were just thinking about different, let's say, responsibilities or positions in hip hop.
Yes.
Who is involved in bringing a record to life? And wondering, especially in the age that we're in, where mixing is so important and that's the engineer's role, who could have the most important responsibilities in creating a record?
Whose stamp on it lends it to being a hit, or who helps it like to go to that next level? And there are a bunch of different people that go into making a record besides just the person that made the beat and the person that's on top of the beat.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And in general, people don't realize how many different music jobs there are. They just see the people that are in the front, and then they kind of notice the people that produced it. But beyond that, there are so many other people that go into making a hit or making a song.
So we do have two disclaimers for this particular episode. We're not belittling any profession or responsibility. every position is essential to the creation and success of a record.
Yeah.
And even though the music industry is very large, we're not actually talking about any business specific roles like the CEO. And but there is an honorable mention for A&Rs and music publishers. Those are technically business related positions, but the way that they connect people is an art in itself. But we're talking specifically for the direct creation of the record.
Okay.
And
Wait, just for the creation of the
and
record? 'Cause I got some
proliferation.
things.
And
All right,
proliferation.
there we go.
artistic proliferation, because I know that there's
Yeah, because I
a
got some.
specific one for that.
So can I bring up the people that come to mind, or the
Yes.
people that I think are in this category?
Yes. Please.
One of which we will choose at the end of this. I'll choose one. You'll choose one.
No, I'm going to rank them. We're going to
Don't-
rank them.
All right. If anybody's listening to this and they want to leave a comment, you want to have someone says we're going to choose one as opposed to ranking them. Now, I'm not going to say it's a ranking because I'm not going 1 through 6 and saying which one's better than the other person. I'm just choosing one that I think has the most influence. But I digress.
Yes,
So-
you have.
So
Are you done
so,
protecting yourself?
Yeah. Yo. In the words of 50, get the strap. All right. So there are the artists, those rappers, singers, the people whose name go on the song, the people who are performing the song and the record. You have the producers, the people that in this case we're gonna use it to the people that make the tracks, the people that make the beats that the people rap and sing on top of. You have songwriters, people that might actually write the song that the artist will then perform in their own way. You have DJs who play the song, help break the record, and can have influence on the creative process depending on what type of project they're putting out. You have engineers, the people that actually record the song. Shout to the engineers, Forgotten Heroes and all this, and make it sound crispy or make it sound crappy. You have the dancers and people that come up with dances. Now, this is super relevant right now, considering look at Drake and how he was forced to put out a single. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, you have executive producers, people who help make sure that the artists and the engineers and all these other people get together in the same place or on the same page and execute a single vision. So yeah, there's a case for all these different people, and it just depends on what tact you want to go. Now, is there any position in particular you want to argue for? I did a little bit of looking up, a little bit of listening to stuff, and so like I can make an argument
rank.
for everybody on here. Not a rank. I can make an
Alright.
argument for everybody that I just listed.
So I would say I want to start with the most important in regards to the success of Astro World, that the engineer could have the most important position as far as creating a record.
So the engineer does a lot, right? Especially when you consider people like Keisha Lee, who is a rising up and coming star in the Atlanta scene. You have Jimmy Douglas, who's worked with like Jay-Z, Sean Paul, Aretha Franklin, Hall & Oates, and these are people that help. Make a sound. So like Jimmy Douglas in particular is known for working with Timbaland. Half of Timbaland's production, or half of what you realize or don't realize, is that it's so clean and it's so prim, it's so proper. And a lot of that has to do with him working with the engineer, Jimmy Douglas, to make sure that they get that very clean, like almost antiseptic, like sound when they're making stuff like that. When you think back to like Shock Value 1 and 2, and different engineers, you know, they work differently and they work hand in hand with the producers and the executive producers when they're making a record. Now, what I'm gonna say is, while the engineer helps make the sound clean and clear, and the way that the engineer works can go hand in hand with a producer or artist. So like there'll be artists that will like working with an engineer because they work a certain way. They work fast. Processes just mesh well. Think about the episode in Atlanta when Poster Boy is in the studio with Yoo-Hoo, and he's just like, yo, if this keeps crashing, I'm gonna like have to whoop your ass. Like
Paperboy.
engineers have Paperboy. I said Poster Boy.
Yeah.
Man, I was thinking of 106 in Park Freestyle Fridays. Remember Poster Boy? But yeah, so the engineer has to work with the artist to make sure that it gets recorded, and hopefully that it's recorded record it in a way that like it doesn't interrupt their workflow, so they can keep the work going and keep producing the music. However, the engineer themselves doesn't usually shape the sound. I think what you're trying to say is like right now the sound is more important than the actual lyrics of a record, and you're associating a lot of that with the engineer. I would associate that more with a producer, especially when you look at like cats or a lot of the mumble rappers out right now. But even if you go beyond them and go to the best of their ilk, like with a little Uzi Vert, that whole vibe has to do more with the producer than it does.
I would say that not just the beat, but the ad-libs. There are some modifications to the track itself that can go on. All of that is happening in post after the song has been produced and recorded. And that's what makes especially the mumble rappers relevant, really, and popular.
But like, it's not like the engineer is going into like a stash and then adding ad-libs. Like the artist is going back in and laying another vocal track on it. Like they can go hand in hand, or an engineer can be like, it might sound better if we like stacked vocals on top of it. But a lot of that is the producer. In that direction, you could say it could either come from an executive producer or an engineer. Now, I don't want to take anything away from engineers, because they're the people that do like all the back-breaking work. They're the people that are in the studios from like sun up to sundown, and like actually helping the idea like go from an idea to an actual thing and making it sound full. But the art, they're more like the you know how you have an architect and then you have an engineer, also the same word. The architect's like, yo, I want this to look like a swan flying through the air. The engineer's like, well, this is the material you need to do this. Like,
so that it doesn't fall down.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a tough job, but I think when we're talking about art and we're talking about the crafting of music, like the artistry is at the forefront, which is why after naming all of these people, I still think the artist is the most important thing, because the artist is the person whose name is on the song. That's what's going to get you invested in the song from Jump Street before you even hear it. Lee Scratch Perry engineered a song, and I'd be like, that's cool, but who the hell is actually going to be on it? He produces an Iggy Azalea song. I'm like, that's cool for him. I'm happy he got that check. I'm not listening to it. That's why I think the artist is still paramount, even though we're in an age where people are judging artists differently for different things. I still think the artist is paramount. Now, you can make an argument for all these people, though. All these people do so many different things that help a record pop. But
let's rank them according to what you list are their responsibilities. So the most important would probably be the artist. What are some other definitions that you have?
I deserve this though. I deserve it. You're making me rank them, which I said I didn't want to do. Okay, whatever. Artists, then producers, then songwriters, then executive producers, then engineers, then DJs, then dancers. And that's the order that I have it in.
I think it's really telling that you would have the dancer before the DJ now in 2000.
No, it's DJs, then dancers.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, because...
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I feel.
But then in some cases you have... All right, so when we're talking about DJs, there's two types. There's the radio DJ, and then there's the party DJ.
Oh no, there's not two types of DJs. There are an infinite amount of DJs that do different things. Maybe not infinite, but
primarily you're gonna have the ones that are in parties and ones that's on the radio.
But you're still you got to remember that like DJs that like host mixtapes are important. They used to be.
When's the last time you heard a DJ? I mean, I'm sorry. When's the last time that you heard a mixtape hosted by a DJ? I haven't listened to.
Silver and Q's Florida Man is hosted by two women DJs out of Florida, and Silver and Q just dropped a kind of buzzing tape called Florida Man.
When I bring up DJs, I'm thinking of like more so traditional DJs, like a DJ Envy, Clue, or even Smalls, where they're no longer breaking records. This was the point I was making.
Well, I might disagree with you on that. So like the breaking of a record is different, right? So there are different ways to break record. You could be viral, and dancers kind of have more of an in on that, right? Whether they be like an exotic dancer, whether they just be a dancer that comes up with a cool dance and that turns into a challenge and then it becomes viral off of that. Whether the rapper has a signature dance that has nothing to do with the song but just does it and then that blows the song up. So there's different ways for it to go viral. I still think DJs are important because DJs are still being used to curate music. Whether they're curating music via streaming platform, whether they're curating music via mixes they put out online, or whether they're curating music so that you can actually hear like when you're out at a party. And people have to enjoy the song. They don't have to enjoy the song, but like that has to be something that they feel like there's some value in it so they can go out and play it, you know?
You got to put, in today's market, I think you have to put executives at the bottom because not one executive hurt in my feelings and said, that's your dance challenge record.
Well, when I say the executive producer, right, I'm talking about somebody that's...
And by the way, they're looking for somebody to create a dance before they're looking for like a legitimate marketing plan. So the executive's job is really like, I don't know, let's put these songs out and then we'll figure out what's danceable.
Now, remember, at the top of this podcast, we said that we weren't going to talk about the business side of it. We were going to talk about the creative side, right? So like marketing executives, yes, I believe what you're saying are...
What does an executive do creatively?
So the executive producer is the person that books the studio time. They're the person that...
they're the person, so he's still at the bottom.
No, but saying they're the person that books the studio time. They're the person that introduces the artist with the producer. They're the person that makes sure that the artist goes in there and actually makes the record. They're also the person that gives art direction.
I would have to remove them from the listing because that's in the same vein as A&R and music publisher.
But they're the person that's like, yo, we're gonna make sure we're gonna get you in this frame of mind. We're gonna like hook you up with this person, and you were gonna sit here. We're gonna make sure I get the best. The classic example of an executive producer, or the classic definition of an executive producer, is someone that puts the artist in the best position to perform at their best, right? So, Quincy Jones, Top Dog, Quincy. What? How is this?
Also producer.
No, but like, while he was also he was the person that was like getting together the songwriters. He was the person that was getting like he wrote all the songs, but he's also a songwriter. But I'm saying an executive producer classically, like when you look in different genres, which is why a producer and executive producer are kind of different in hip hop. So like in other genres, like a producer, that'd be the dude that would be like, all right, Metallica, we're gonna fly you out to Cali. We're all gonna sit down here, and you're gonna work with this engineer to make sure you sound like this.
If you're an MC and he's the quote unquote executive producer, you giving him creative credit, or you just saying nah, he just kind of like, was there?
No, he gets creative credit. He's the person that turned Yeezus from a bunch of mismatch and turned it into a critically acclaimed album. Because from what everybody says is that Kanye just had these tracks and he was like, I don't know what to do with it. Took it to Rick Rubin and he was like, they tore it apart, put it back together. Or think about Puffy, right? Puffy's the one that's like, big, you should rap over Mtume. Like he wasn't the one that actually made the beat, but he's like, yo, we need to put you in this position to that's what I'm saying. And they're also like kind of low on the list at this point because not everybody has an executive producer that does all that. But that's the difference between like certain albums. Like certain albums, they need that little art direction. Like think about Common when he put out Finding Forever in B. Like that was a departure from what he put out before. That was executive produced by Kanye. Now he also did beats on it, but those albums had like vibes and specific like waves that went with it, and it felt a certain way, and a lot of that was Kanye's influence on that project.
Let's talk about a difference in mixing though. We're talking about the engineer, because I happen to think that the engineer comes like third or fourth to like artist, producer, engineer because of how it sounds. That Travis Scott album doesn't hit me the way that it does unless it's engineered exactly the way that it's been engineered. That Tiana Taylor album doesn't hit me the way that it does unless they've gone out of their way to mix it with like lo-fi and like make it really kind of like old school sounding and shit. But if they had made it sound any more perfect, maybe I don't like it. Or if they'd flushed any of those songs out, like the producer had gone in and like not cut up all the songs, you know, then maybe it doesn't come across well. So it's all in the presentation creatively that way between the producer, the artist, and the engineer.
I feel like when I gave my rankings, what I put the so what you were just talking about, right? That's like the sound and the vibe and the texture of like what they were going for. Now in my head, that's what an executive producer also contributes to. But once again, what you helped me point out is that there aren't that many people really executive producing now. And then I had songwriters above engineers too, but that's just because like the songwriter is integral to making a song, because there's no song without somebody writing a goddamn song. So if you look at it, it's kind of like two optional motherfuckers who, if they're there, I think are a little bit more important than the engineer, but most of the time in today's climate, they are not. Well, actually, no. Motherfuckers be writing songs for other people. But like
You'll hear a rapper call out their engineer, going as far back as the relationship between Hove and Young Guru,
Yeah.
before you hear a rapper calling out the other people that helped them with the song.
Well, if a rapper shouts out their songwriter, they're no longer a rapper. So that's they're not gonna Drake ain't like, yo, Quentin, shout.
But the point with songwriting, especially in this climate, you're not too worried about bars from a lot of different artists if it sounds good.
Yeah.
Like in Astro World, where this is probably the first time people have mentioned the actual lyrical content of a Travis Scott song. Sahai the Prince, for example, is one of the better songwriter artists, but a lot of people will say that his music doesn't move them. Maybe the engineer is the one that's really responsible for the emotion of a track.
Well, I mean, songwriting, you might think songwriting isn't important, as important today, but there's still somebody to like, if we're not going to talk about the lyrical content of like a certain specific section of hip hop, because there's still a lot of people out there who lyrical content is super important, right? So like, I'm just say part of it. But the other part of it is also like, you need to make something that's catchy, and that's still part of songwriting. I don't think anybody out here is thinking that Sway Lee is a lyrical genius, but he knows how to write a hook. Max B, same thing. He knew how to write a hook. He knew how to make the song catchy. That's still an important part of songwriting. That's what I think. And that, like, if you got a hook and it gets stuck in somebody's head, like, bitch, I'm a cow, which we were all listening to earlier today, god damn it. I'm sorry. This is Doja Cat. I respect your hustle. I'm gonna just let you know that I really thought you were dope when you were making songs like Hi. All right. But anyway, yeah, the songwriting is important, you know? Like it still matters, and even if it's like, yo, I can't put a 16 down, cool, but are you saying something that's at least getting stuck in the head, like, and it's sticky, you know? Like that's what I'll say about that. But when cats say that, they're like, oh, all these mumble rappers, they don't rap. And he's like, y'all act like mumble rap is the only rap that's being made right now, fam. Did we not just see J. Cole and Kendrick have like #1 albums? And for everybody that you call a mumble rapper, like Cardi B has verses with good lines in them and memorable hooks. 2 Chainz is a viable artist who does not mumble when he raps. He has clever punchlines. So everybody's blowing this mumble rap shit like way out of proportion. Like if y'all really care about Trippie Redd that much and Slump God that much or Smoke Perp that much, then all right, I guess. But you know y'all don't. You know y'all don't. And you know like a lot of these cats not gonna be here in like 5 years. So chill with this shit. Like there was plenty of whack shit in the 90s that we don't talk about. So
It's interesting that you place the artist at the center of all this as the most important when they seem to be the most expendable, where we doubt their longevity, where we doubt their sound. Ultimately, all these other people around them is what makes that person important. The songwriter, the producer, the engineer. And how are we going to place an artist on top of all those when they're the ones that are making and breaking legacies?
well, if you made Jay, then go make another Jay. If that was the case. Like on a certain level, there are people they're just spitting out artists that are disposable. You can look at like
for every J, there's 100 loons.
Fam,
100,000 loons.
Only I'm just saying, like 1 out of every 100 makes it. Like cats out here really acting like Tribe Called Quest was all that was getting played back in the day. This is what the music industry has always been. Putting out a bunch of motherfuckers, and whoever sticks. Having a long career is the anomaly, not the motherfucking mean.
songwriter, with this producer, with this engineer to create a sound that's vibing with the vast majority. If you're throwing out all these different pieces, all these different personalities, just to see what sticks, and those three pieces are consistent no matter who's the artist, who's the face, who's the voice. Mention the line of trying to make another Hove, but I guarantee you Hove can't make another Young Guru.
All right. So if we play the game of we swap this person with this person, we're gonna like it gets murky. When you really got to think about this, right? The reason why these relationships work so well is because the artist is like, I like working with this person because at this point they get me, they know my workflow.
But so who do you credit for the sound of 444? It was all No ID production.
Yeah.
Hove's credited as a co-producer because he provided some of the samples and the overall like idea behind the record. So as far as the sound goes, it's Jay-Z's name. That thing's gonna move anyway.
Yeah.
It's one producer, all the shine around it. It's Jay's response record, right? So we've got a whole narrative now in place.
Yeah, exactly.
That helps sell it.
Guru doesn't make it because it obviously Jay-Z is the thing that moves it, because what you just say, the narrative is what moved that album.
Sure.
Nobody was just
That narrative's going to move his next 5 years of his career, by the way.
Exactly.
But anyway,
oh, yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he just got another 5 years off of that night in
out
Paris.
here, yeah, he's just out here just
Hip hop.
which is fine because hip hop is getting older. But no, like the artist, yeah, no, that's fine. But the artist moves the needle. Like the artist is whose name is on it first. Now, a lot goes into making a piece of art. It really does, and especially with music. A lot goes into making music. Like all these things are needed to craft this. You know.
So we said that Jay obviously helped sell his own record at
Yeah.
this point, especially if there's a narrative in place of, we get some tea on the album. So Kanye is going to be the producer of 5 good music releases, including his own.
Yeah.
And his method of selling these 5 releases is I'm going to come out and I'm going to piss everybody off. So
But
Tiana's
also-
record is sullied by, I'll listen to it, but if it's whack, since Kanye's being an asshole, I'll hate it. Or Pusha, well, he better come with it, or else I'm going to have to just hate it because Kanye's being a dickhead.
I kind of, so are you saying that? So what are you saying?
I'm saying
like,
that
what's the-
as much as the artist or the name on the record can help sell it, right? If
Yes.
we're talking about levels of importance, if you've got Jay-Z on your album, the only reason you're going to have a Jay-Z feature on your album if you're a lower tier artist is to help sell the record.
Yeah.
Or if you're Meek Mill and you're putting Drake on your album, that's to sell the record, right? So if you've got Kanye producing your album, it's a dream scenario for you as an artist, but he's going to come out this time and piss off half of his fan base or whatever, and really stir shit up in a whole different type of way.
Okay. Well, there's
So who gets credit for the album being good?
So there's 2 things, right? Number one, if that were to happen, name me like one of these other professions that if they put that on the record would be like, yeah, Kanye produced it and is an EP, but Guru engineered it, so I'm still gonna listen.
Well, what I'm
But-
saying
but
is
like-
that if it's Mike Dean and Kanye West doing the Tiana album,
Yeah.
who
But
gets,
it's
who
not-
gets credit for that album being great?
Who gets credit for the album? Tiana, right? Because she made the art. But it's a collaborative effort. So
Kanye didn't make all those songs?
he made all those songs. And I would say that he provided direction for it, but she still had to produce that, right? And even when you were talking about that Kanye scenario, more than went into it than him doing his whole promotional run when he was like supporting Trump. Before that happened, he was just saying, good music is gonna drop 5 albums. I have produced everything on here, which I haven't done in a while. Like I'm chopping the samples. And so he put everything on hold, gathered the music up, and then re-released it on his own beats, right? So he's acting as an executive producer, or producer, and
A reproducer.
Yeah, as a producer and partly as an artist on those, right?
Right.
So all of that recognition is just
So
like,
who-
this is now an event. So Kanye kind of gets, Kanye like the artist.
So who takes the
Entity
who takes the fall for Nas's album not being great? Or not being well received?
I thought it was great.
For not being well received.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the fact that he allegedly beat Khalees,
That keeps the music from sounding decent?
that keeps him from getting recognition for the album.
I would
That
disagree.
was- I think that was more. I think that was so. If we're saying that, I think Nas's album wasn't as well received because of Nas. Nas is the artist, so hence the artist on both ends, right? Now,
What about the people who felt like it was too much Kanye?
The people who want
That's
Nas
still
to
an artist.
re-release.
but it's like, it's the people who have an issue with Kanye. It's just like, cool. I mean, I don't know why you expect an artist to really give you an excellent political analysis about life and why you give a fuck about what he thinks. But cool. But there was controversy surrounding that album beyond Kanye because there's still the story about Khalees that came out kind of around it. So there was a lot of people saying, oh, if you fuck with Nas, you support a woman beater. That's how you feel?
Right, and the album better be out of the year.
And the album wasn't like Second Coming of Jesus, so it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna miss it. I mean, that's how I feel. That's the reaction I at least saw personally on my timelines and everything. It was just like,
well, it's just an interesting conversation once you get to that level of it, like that level of mainstream, because now when we're talking about who's getting credit, it's like it really could be a name, right? We're gonna at least go and listen to the Eminem album before we decide it's trash or not.
But
Whereas before, if it's somebody who hasn't earned that level of like, well, I at least he's earned my listen, then then we don't give it as much credit. So that's just what I was asking, was like, okay, so who do we start crediting once we get up into the higher ups, like where Kanye, where it's like there's 30 people you could credit on one record. So who made it the best? If Pharrell's on 30 Hours, does Pharrell get any credit for that? Because nobody even knew that shit. But anyway,
Kanye's name is on it.
Right, exactly. It's Kanye West album.
I'm glad we could bring up a very popular and very relevant example to describe these different positions. We want to hear what your opinions are, and we also want to say again that we salute each and every one of these roles, these responsibilities, and these professions. If it wasn't for each and every one of you, we wouldn't have the records that we have that define this music and this culture for us.
Shout out to Gloria Kaba, who's worked with Beyonce and all these other amazing people. She's an awesome engineer. Shout out to you.
And for our audience, definitely check us out at HKL Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, or check us out here at Freshthetic, home of Classic Material in New York, on Grand Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And to send us off, we all know it's a hard knock life for us, but we make it look easy. Until next time.
Peace.